Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Great to have you in the conversation today. Number to call, 888-589-8840 if you would like to weigh in. And, you know, maybe we can talk big picture a little bit in the phone conversations. We talked in the opening segment about the end of 2 Kings, about how nations can get beyond the tipping point. They can get to the point where they cannot come back. And I think if we're not over that, past that point, we are dangerously close. And if we make the wrong decision on November 6th, I think we will go over the edge. We will go over the precipice. It will be impossible for America to come back to what it once was and what God intended for it unless we go through a complete, absolute meltdown of our culture. And we have blood in the streets, anarchy, civil unrest, civil war, invasion from without, you name it. There will be shed blood, because that is the only way that the shed blood of the innocence that has been shed through abortion can be, the only way the land can be atoned for. Now, this is what the scriptures very clearly indicate. Where there is a shedding of innocent blood, it takes the shedding of blood to atone for that. We will either bring those sins under the blood of Jesus Christ and have them atoned for through national repentance, or we will have to atone for that shedding of innocent blood by shedding and spilling our own blood. There is no third way. The only question is, which of those two paths will we choose to follow? And so I'd love to have you kind of your share on that, about how close to the edge you think we might be. Can we come back? I mean, I do not intend at all to be pessimistic. In fact, I'm not. I'm very optimistic in the sense that I do believe God's not done. I mean, we've all had people that have walked away from the faith. We might have had even adult children who've walked away from the faith, and we're desperately worried about them. But we always can come back to the fact that those children were dedicated to God. They made a personal decision to follow Christ and were baptized, and God has a very powerful legal claim on their lives, and He's not going to give them up without a fight. He's going to bring them back to a path of righteousness. And the only concern you have as a parent, how painful is that process going to be? What kind of pain are they going to have to experience before God gets their attention and brings them back to the path? But you know that God's going to bring them back. You know that's going to happen. The only question is, what kind of cost is your child going to have to pay to come back to that place? And the same is true for nations. I don't believe God is finished with us by any stretch. But as David Jeremiah says, the real question is, are we finished with God? Where is America at when it comes to our relationship with God? Because if we are finished with God, then the time will come when God will say, okay, I'm just going to wash my hands. There's that very vivid picture toward the end of 2 Kings where the prophet says, look, God will wipe out the nation of Judah like one wipes out a dish. You take a dish, you turn it over, and you wipe it out. And everything in it's just scoured, and it just dumped into the garbage, and you're left with a bowl with nothing in it. And that's what God can do to nations. He did it to Judah. He did it to Israel. And we must not think that we are exempt from that same kind of thing happening for us. So it's a sobering topic, but that's where the scriptures has taken us over the last week or so. And I'd be curious to have you weigh in on that topic. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Now, while you're calling in, just a couple of things on the Libya deal, well, on the Islam issue. You know, I've talked with you repeatedly. I do not think you can do nation building in a Muslim country. It cannot be done. You have to have liberty to build a nation that has any kind of respect for Western values, Republican form of government. There's none of that in Islam. There's no liberty in the DNA of Islam. It's all tyranny, domination, darkness, death, and violence. Now we got another example from Afghanistan today. 2 more United States troops were killed by an Afghani policeman. Another Afghani in uniform, wearing the uniform of law enforcement or the military, killing 2 of our soldiers. We're just cannon fodder over there. And for what? Why are the lives of these U.S. soldiers being sacrificed for what? What is the objective? What is the mission here? There is no objective. There is no mission. You cannot build a Republican form of government in Afghanistan. So our guys are just, they're just targets for target practice for the police and for the military. So, you know, from my personal standpoint, and again, I am just speaking only for myself, I think we should have gone into Afghanistan. We should have deposed the Taliban. We should have come home. So we should have been out of there by 2002. We went in about 6 weeks after 2011. We went after the Taliban. We took them out by the end of the year. And at that point, it was time to come home, and we say to the Afghani people, hey, you don't want us to come back. You make sure the Taliban does not come back to power. If the Taliban comes back to power, they make another move against us, we're coming back, and we will bomb you back to the Stone Age. It's up to you. You want us to leave and stay out, we're happy to do it. You make another move against us, we'll be back with the entire force of the United States military, and we will level this thing to the ground. It is your call. That's what we should have done. Instead, again, and I fault George Bush for this, he believed that somehow down in the heart of every soul is a hunger and thirst for liberty. It's not there. It's not there in the heart of Muslims because they're dominated by this dark religion that's not about liberty. They don't hunger for liberty. They hunger for control. They hunger for domination. They hunger for the elimination of infidel Jews and Christians. That's what beats in the heart of Islam. And so that's what will beat in the heart of a devout Muslim. Now, we can thank God for the moderate Muslims that aren't into that sort of thing. Thank God for every single one of them, but they're not the ones we've got to worry about. And what we're seeing then is this is exactly what's going on over in Afghanistan. And myself personally, again, I'm just speaking for myself. I think it's way past time to bring our boys home and leave that message to Afghanistan. Whether we come back, that's going to be entirely up to you. Only if we come back again, we're not coming in here to build a nation. We are coming in here to completely neutralize the threat. And if we have to turn this place into rubble to get that done, that's what we are prepared to do. It's your call. Now, with the situation in Libya, and we'll go to the phones here in just a second, the White House now is refusing to comment. Remember, we saw yesterday that the White House had emails within 2 hours of the attack in which an al-Qaeda affiliate claimed responsibility for the attack. 2 hours. 2 hours and 2 minutes after the White House first heard that the consulate was under attack, they got an email saying that Ansar al-Sharia, which is a al-Qaeda offshoot, was claiming credit for it. Now, the White House is being asked, well, when did President Obama find out? When did he learn about it? When did he meet with the National Security Council? And Jay Carney's not answering those questions. They are dodging that. Now, why would you do that? Why would you refuse to answer? Why would you decline to comment about when you learned of these emails, when President Obama learned of these emails, and when he met with the National Security Council? None of that is classified information. None of that is top secret. And the fact that the White House is saying we decline to comment, I believe, is to conceal guilty knowledge. Now, we've got a warning, by the way. Our U.S. Embassy in Egypt is warning American citizens in Cairo that jihad, there is a credible threat of jihad. Terrorists, quote, are targeting, listen to this, terrorists are targeting female missionaries in Egypt. So our own embassy saying we got jihad around the corner. They're coming after women who are missionaries, female missionaries. Now, one of the things that's going on with the whole Libya thing is Hillary Clinton has sort of been falling on her sword for Obama. Here's a story from The Blaze indicating that Ed Klein, he's the one that wrote the book The Amateur about Barack Obama. What Ed Klein is saying is there is this fierce disagreement now between Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton over what's going on in Libya. What Bill wants Hillary to do is he wants Hillary to bring out the documents, to release the official State Department documents that will prove that she did, in fact, call for additional security at the compound and that Obama was the one that turned it down. So apparently, according to Ed Klein, Hillary Clinton did put in a request for more security at the compound in Libya, and it went to the top. It went above her head. Ultimately, the buck would stop with Obama and got turned down. And Bill Clinton is out there saying, look, you're the scapegoat here. Barack Obama is laying all this whole thing off on you. You've got the documents that prove that you asked for more security and that he was the one that turned it down. You need to bring that out. And Hillary Clinton apparently is reluctant to do it for whatever reason. I mean, she knows that if she comes out with that, I think that would be a knife in the heart of the Obama campaign. I think you could stick a fork in him. He would be done at that point. And it would be maybe one way for Hillary Clinton to preserve some viability. But if she is perceived, this is what probably is her hesitation, if she's perceived by the rest of the Democratic Party as a traitor, as the one who brought Barack Obama down, then she obviously has no political future. So she's caught. If Ed Klein is right, and again, I don't know that he's right, I don't know that he's right, but if Ed Klein is right, then Hillary Clinton is between a rock, the proverbial rock, and a hard place here. Well, let's go to our phones. Let's go to Chip in Fitzgerald, Georgia. Chip, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing good.
This might be a little bit off topic or maybe not, but I've been trying to call since last week. I just got through, so I wanted to ask you the
Yes,
story
sir.
that you reported on Obama's wedding ring and the inscription on that.
Yes, I have.
A week and a half or 2 weeks ago. Is there any reason why the networks or anybody else has not picked that up that I've heard? Is it just not a big deal, or is it?
And again, you'd have to ask the networks. I suspect that they are very squeamish about Obama's favoritism for Islam. They know that it's bad for him politically if he is perceived to be showing unfair favoritism toward the Islamic faith. And if he's got a ring, and I believe he does, I've looked at the photographic evidence. We've seen some research on this. There's an academic expert at Duke University that's verified that is the inscription on President Obama's ring. And it's not just a wedding ring, Chip. There are photographs of him wearing that ring since the early 1980s. Now, it became his wedding ring. That's the ring that Michelle Obama put back on his finger when they got married. But he'd been wearing it for 10 or 11 years before they got married. And the inscription, according to this academic expert at Duke and one other prestigious university, verified it. Yes, the inscription on his ring says, "There is no God but Allah." Literally, it says, "No God but Allah." It's very succinct and brief. And that would be, the reason you haven't seen any of that in the mainstream media. I mean, the mainstream media has not even discussed that. And I think the reason they do not want to discuss that is it would kind of raise the possibility that Barack Obama may, in fact, be a closeted Muslim. I mean, that's naturally something that you would speculate about. If you had a guy that wore a ring since 1980 and he was still wearing it in 2012, and that ring said Jesus is Lord, and it was inscribed on it so it could be read and it could be seen, and he'd worn that every day of his life for 31 years, you'd say, that guy's probably a Christian. Likewise, the mainstream media knows if you got a guy wearing a ring that says there is no God but Allah, which is the Islamic statement of faith, they know the average person will look at that and say, a guy's wearing that ring for 30 years, that guy's probably a Muslim. That's a risk the mainstream media cannot afford to take. Focal Point AFR Talk.